Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Proper Baron and this is DevDare number 125. The most valiant of them all is today's topic, which in this case means that we're going to be talking about accolades, and there is a whole bunch to talk about. Now this Dev Diary is shorter than the previous Dev Diaries, but with the previous Dev Diaries, more often than not, I think, in almost all weeks there, I basically found myself in a position where I said to myself, man, this sounds really neat. I'm smelling these pitfalls. I hope they're not going to be the case, but I'm seeing them. Let's hope that this gets ironed out, or is ironed out, and I just have an unsubstantiated fear there. When it comes to accolades, I like this mechanic. I like the implementation of the mechanic, and I wanted to go even further. This, what we already get here, is a massive step into what I would call the right direction of finally connecting warfare with your actual roleplay, and then letting you connect this deliberately if you want to do this. And it makes it so that you suddenly will actually start caring about who serves in your army. I think this is going to be a great change, and I really hope, even if it is in tours and tournaments, that this feature in particular is sort of a groundwork when it comes to the idea of how can we connect roleplay, the economy side of things, the activity side of things, with war and other topics as well. Let's jump into this, because I gotta tell you again, I'm very positive, and obviously I want you to know why I am so positive. Accolades are about adding depth and flavor to night management, giving you cause to care about the low-ranked NPCs you're sending to untimely deaths. This is a smaller feature, but it's an excellent tie-in into the new activity system, particularly grand tournaments. Activities are ideal less than lethal reasons to get your knights out of the house and get them known as the budding warriors and leaders they are. This right here is very important to me. The fact that the vision statement that this feature and that this design has is, we want you to finally care about the people dying in your battles. Really important. Let's be honest here, unless it's like a really high-ranking vassal, unless it's your family member, unless it's your heir, people dying in battles, it just doesn't really concern you, right? With accolades, you have characters that you will fundamentally care about because their position might be incredibly important to you. Tying stat boosts, modifiers, and so on to an actual position. Yes, we have this with court positions. Yes, we kind of have it, I guess, with commanders, and we have it with counselors, but nothing even close to accolades. Let's take a look. Hey, is this just adding more knight effectiveness? No, but your knights will probably get a few new things to offer the battlefield. Well, what is an accolade then? An accolade represents the special honors, the eminent status a liege affords to a favored knight. It represents an awe-inspiring reputation passed through generations of fighters. Really important. It's an institution. It's not just a personal thing. As accolades improve over time and as more storied martial deeds are done, they offer more bonuses to the knights who hold them and to their liege, which is of course you. If you click here, it shows you this tab, and then this tab right here on the bottom has the knights that are, or rather the vassals and courtiers that are eligible to be knights, and then right here you have the actual accolades. You can see Raymond and Savarix, they are the accolades right now in this court. He is level 2, he is just level 1. Both of them, of course, really cool. This guy is he might have gigantism, you think? He has such a massive face there. Anyway, by spending prestige to create an accolade on a worthy knight, you make the character your acclaimed knight. They serve just as normal knights do, with no additional effects, but those provided by their accolade attributes. I will get to those shortly. So right here, we have the truest of the Italian knights, which is an accolade that you can bestow upon a knight, which then makes that knight an acclaimed knight. This right here is Giasson, and he is a charmer and a scoundrel. These will be the two attributes of an accolade. This accolade, once created, will have these two attributes, and were Giasson just to disappear or to die or whatever, you could take this accolade with these circumstances and give it to another knight, meaning it can be handed down. It absolutely can be. Right here we can see the two qualified to create accolades, and in this case, Giasson, the truest of the Italian knights, is the suggested name. We can edit this, looks really cool. He is a charmer and a scoundrel indeed. Note that not all your knights are shown as accolade candidates here. Only unlanded and baron ranked knights can become acclaimed knights. Candidates must also have at least 8 prowess. Nobody wants them constantly dying of incompetence. Finally, they have to be eligible for at least 2 accolade attributes. So, to sum it up, you want to create an accolade. What you do is you find a baron or unlanded character that is a knight, and then you say, okay, what accolade attributes would fit you, and they can take them. If they fit multiple ones, you can see this right here, you could exchange this, but if they just fit 2, then boom, this is your primary, this is your secondary attribute. Accolade attributes reflect the traits, skills, or other qualities of your knights that make them stand out. They are the source of accolade bonuses, which scale as knights gain glory, a new stat, accolade XP. Every accolade has 2 attributes. The ranks earned through glory gain alternately provide 1 attribute's bonus and then the others. So if your accolade has a mentor attribute, you'll gain the mentor's aid to their fellow knights only with every second increase in rank. So mentor, scoundrel, mentor, scoundrel, mentor, scoundrel, until you reach level 6. I assume that is the standard top. We have seen it here as level 6 a couple of times, but yeah. Every accolade, oh, there you go. Some attributes simply herald an element of a knight's personality, and while they can be interesting, aren't particularly impressive. Others, like the aforementioned mentor, depends on the knight being exceptional, and, in return, offer potent men-at-arms modifiers, lifestyle trait boosts, etc. This already, and you're going to see this in a second much more, hints at the fact that this is not a pure sort of ordeal of, okay, this knight, now that they've leveled up enough, they will give you a massive bonus in battles or in personal combat, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, yes, they do, but it goes way past that, which then again pushes the accolade into giving you an influence, not just in warfare, but also, for example, in dread, in tyranny, in, marriage acceptance, and so on. Meaning, it all bleeds into each other. First of all, the entire rest of the game bleeds into the accolades, and with that into warfare, and then warfare and the accolades bleed back into the entire rest of the game. Really cool design. I like that a whole lot, because this changes how you approach warfare, but it also changes how you approach everything else. We can see right here, this is a very warfare-heavy modifier. Liege modifiers, max size of light cavalry regiments +2. Knight army modifiers, so that is an army that the knight is a member of. He doesn't need to be the commander. Army movement speed +5%. Light cavalry toughness, damage, and bonus, and pursuit all get bonuses. That is a very, very warfare-heavy bonus right there. The Outrider, shown above, is mostly about boosting light cavalry. Below, you can see what its effects look like when they reach their max. If you're interested in these kinds of men-at-arms bonuses, there's more than that in the later in the dev diary, including a hot scoop on special accolade men-at-arms units. Really cool. So there are particular men-at-arms, we're going to see that in a bit, that can be spawned in if you have a certain accolade leveled up enough. Really cool. Rank 5, Glory 1500. Liege modifiers, max size of light cavalry regiments, so this is massive right here. You would definitely want to have your entire army just be light cavalry at this point. And this right here is the rank level 5, so level 1, level 3, and level 5. So this is technically rank 3 of this attribute, but obviously rank 5 of the actual accolade. Light cavalry maintenance, -20%, then massive bonus. I mean, look at this. The light cavalry damage is insane. That is wild. And it unlocks the retinue outriders, which is, again, this particular men-at-arms set. To be an outrider, your knight needs the open terrain expert trait, or XP in the horse track of the shiny new Hasteluder tier trait, gained from grand tournament participation. Being, say, Assault of the Earth Thug is more common. Wrathful, arbitrary, impatient, arrogant, and Reaver characters all qualify. So there are some things that are just really good, but they need very particular sets of skills, and then there are some where if you're angry, you can become a thug, right? Then that kind of just works, which isn't necessarily bad. We can see it right here. The thugs is not exactly a rich lineup of bonuses, but hey, if you're a bad guy, you might still want a thug on your side. Rank 1, Glory 100, Dread gain per tyranny, +0.2. And then down here in rank 6, Dread gain per tyranny 0.8 and unlocks imprison chance +25. This is not a great bonus. Obviously, the imprison chance is actually pretty decent. Sounds nice if you want to capture somebody and don't want to fight just a war, a tiny war, but still a war, or if you don't want them to flee to a different court. It is quite nice, and it is one of those things where I can see myself, and you never roll back anything in these games. I mean, man, you build a building, and they're fighting this now with a building rework as well. I'm so excited to see this in development, or rather in action, but they're fighting this with a building rework as well. In the past, you would settle on whatever buildings you want, you would build them, and that is it. You don't roll back, you don't pivot, you just do that, and then you're done. With the accolades and with the new buildings, there may be a situation where you unlock something later and then say to yourself, you know what I currently have kind of sucks in comparison. I'm gonna rip that out and we're gonna start anew. I can see myself building different buildings after already having every slot occupied, but I can also see myself kicking out an accolade, if necessary, to get a better bonus. If that accolade was good in the early game because I didn't have anybody but a thug, then yeah, okay, that's fair enough, but after that, let's retire that, because we're more honorable now. I need something like, for example, right here, indeed, the Charmer, right? That sort of stuff. I think the approach taken there, where you have this title, this accolade, and you might want to actually switch it out because they are all so unique in their combination that, hey, why not, right? You have a different thing coming up if you are in a position where you have a different knight that can pick up and create a different accolade. I think that is a really cool approach. The more they do this, I think, the better it is, because otherwise you just have this exponential curve in the end game. Here you might just like have a, you know, a bit of a lateral move where just move to the side because you like that side better. Given knights are liege's military muscle, most acolyte bonuses are martial and army focused. Nonetheless, for those more interested in singing chansons than cleaving skulls, there's acclaimed knights like the rare master of revels. Let's take a look at this right here. Eager Reveler, trait experience gain plus 15%. You and your primary heir may gain the Eager Reveler trait every few years. I wonder what this exactly means. Does it only mean if you don't have the trait at all? Does that mean if you have the trait but only a low level? Who knows? But this is not at all related to warfare. I gotta highlight this. I love this, okay? You can decide to have this accolade, and that accolade will give you massive boosts on something that isn't warfare related at all. Let's take a look here. The last Eager Reveler trait. Eager Reveler trait experience gain plus 35%. Then the same, you and your primary heir may gain the Eager Reveler trait every few years. Feast and grand wedding guest invitation acceptance plus 20. And significant prestige gained from this knight's victories in battle. I love this, okay? I absolutely love this. This is just so nice because it doesn't do anything for your warfare abilities, but it gives you bonuses that just sort of, much like Dynasty Legacies, are a living proof of how you've played the game. Do you like feasts? Do you host many grand weddings? Because if so, boom, this is for you. Many other people will not end up with any of these bonuses, which is very different from how CK3 is played right now, where there just are some things that are good and some things that are bad in, for example, terms of buildings. Here, you can optimize in a very highly specialized version if you have the right personnel. I really do like this. If you find yourself curious about attributes, a full list with requirements and effects are listed in the in-game encyclopedia. Have a marauder and thug-led gang of bully boys backing you up if you wish, or get yourself a tactician and a house paragon. Listen, what do you want to say? I see myself right here. This gives me the option as a role player. It gives optimizers, right, min-maxers, the option to say this is exactly what I want for this playthrough, but it gives me the option when I have a terrible person to create a terrible accolade, the Knight of Thorns that destroys everybody in their way. And then a nice character takes over and I say, you know what, I would rather actually have the Knight of the Rose. And all of a sudden, I exchange the old accolade, put a new one in, and boom, I have a different experience in how things go. Huge fan. I cannot reiterate this often enough. I want this to bleed even more, of course, into casual activities. I want these knights and these accolades and their attributes, if possible, right, to sort of bleed into royal court events, into how they will respond to certain things. Hey, you're a charmer. Well, maybe if a vassal petitions me, you know, for this or that, and I don't want to say yes, the charmer can stand in and sort of, you know, just convince them that they should let it go. These are the things that I want to see. But the baseline here is so incredible already. At the very least from the sound of it, because there's always this massive potential that you want to change something here, and hey, that's just not the case with normal gameplay systems. One thing to clear up, while it's possible to have multiple acclaimed knights, you may only ever have one instance of each accolade attribute. Let's keep the modifier stacking reasonable, folks. Makes perfect sense. Oh man, I like these icons. In the screenshot above, I was thinking, are there no icons like, wait, it was right here. I was like, are there no icons? They're just not shown here. I kind of wish they were, because there's like a perfect space for them right here, right? But man, I love this. Valiant and a master of revels. Huge fan. This is so good. And this is... Wait, this is the secondary one. The Valiant one. Yep. He currently is rank 1, which means he has this. Shouldn't this be under Valiant? Because Valiant is the only one leveled up. Right now, this is the Valiant modifier, right? We saw the Master of Revels one. Anyway, this guy is our bearer of the King's Standard, Ferrando de Fraga, and he is in a position where he's Valiant and a Master of Revels. Valiant here clearly gives us more army damage because he's brave, he goes first into the battle, and then Master of Revels, we can host some feasts. Really cool stuff. Now you can see, this is the Reveler trait right there, and then the successor, we currently don't have anyone. The Accolade view. Let's take a look at what is really going on here. You have created an accolade. It's visible above your knight's list. When opened, you're faced with the accolade's name, its acclaimed knight, the successor if one's been found, its attributes, and the bonuses it provides. Note that your accolades can be freely renamed, just in case the randomly filled templates like the Sword of Death or Senior Knight of the Polish Guard don't do it for you. And the track in the middle is showing glory. That's XP, right? This thing right here. Glory. Heck yeah, XP. Glory is gained whenever something happens that might make your acclaimed knights and their accolade more respected, more famed and glorious in the eyes of loyal warriors and hateful foe alike. Accolade rank is increased with glory. They are what provide you with the good stuff. Here's a list of common glory sources for an acclaimed knight. Fighting in winning battles, wounding and killing other knights in battle, winning single combats, attending activities with their liege, participating in winning winning tournaments contests, their liege winning wars against higher ranked war targets. On that last point, indeed, the feat of besting an emperor is a count nets the count's acclaimed knights a tasty bit of extra glory. This amount varies based on the size of the war target and the casus belli type. This is a debug war. Oh, no, this is a claim war, actually. We are the count of, what is this? Not sure where this is. You gain the contester title, and then, due to Kaiser Heinrich IV's high rank, each of your acclaimed knights gains 100 glory. Plus the glory you gain in battles, plus the glory, you know, that you would gain if they were to kill somebody, and all of a sudden, they might actually blow past level 2 or whatever. Right now we just have 100 glory. There's not even a track here, I think? I'm not sure. Anyway, so you can, and this is massively important, you can further the purpose of your, and this is just the common stuff, of your knights, of your accolades, in battles, in victories over superior enemies, and in more normal activities, like, for example, tournaments as well as activities. If we're hosting a hunt, and we succeed, I would assume that my accolades that participate also get some glory, right? This means I can have totally natural, different playstyles without needing to be like, okay, wait a minute, how do I level up this guy? Obviously, you can do that. You're encouraged to do this, but you don't have to focus on this. It happens naturally with your playstyle, which is something that some content for CK3 previously has struggled with, for example, well, the struggles themselves, or rather the Fate of Iberia struggle. This is one of those issues there, because sometimes you will find yourself, and we talked about this in the past too, wanting to go into a different phase than where the phase naturally is drifting, and then you have to do a lot to really carry yourself over. With this, it doesn't matter. Listen, if you want to host feasts all the time, hey, host feasts all the time, because your accolades may still very well profit from it. I love it. I don't know how to put it in other words. I'm so complain heavy, I think, and reasonably so in my opinion, but I'm so complain heavy when it comes to dissecting these mechanics. This mechanic, I absolutely adore it. It combines building up modifiers with just playing the game in a very proactive fashion. And man, I could not like that more. Some new events will also provide opportunities to increase your accolades glory. This may be the knightiest one of all, where victory is fostered. My knights stand assembled for the day's training, their attendants laden with kit. Severix and myself stand before all. Knights, what you do not know, ask how humbly to be taught, urges Severix. Together we represent the Duke. Let us together prepare for our glories. He turns to me, eyes gleaming. Command us. Watch your opponents, learn their weaknesses. To your saddles, draw your swords. Knights, prove your keenness, both of eye and mind. This is during a tournament for sure. You can see the tournament screen in the back, right? Beat them all, Severix. Now, oh my god, how much glory would he be getting for this? This sounds like the biggest glory option right here. This sounds like your intent, right? Because your intent is to win the tourney. And then these right here just basically to level up your skill, which is also useful for your knights, of course. But this one in particular, I mean, I wonder how much glory he would actually gain for this. Oh, I think this is it? I'm not sure. This option is available because of your triumph intent. Oh, this is this one right here. There it is. Your knight's scores increase moderately, your score increases moderately, and then the Sword of St. Joseph, which is one of the accolades, and Master of the Duke's Retainers gains 25 glory each. So this option is 25 glory. Could this be 100 just for Severix? Man, 100 glory, that would be insane just from this event, but of course it makes sense if he beats every single one of them. Glory will not accrue endlessly, it is also sometimes lost. This happens when knights lose battles, are defeated, and on accolade succession. The last one might seem harsh, but can you really expect a brand new acclaimed knight to command the same respect as their predecessor? Give them some time. Accolade loses rank. The Wolf of Tabriz is now unsung, losing all its effects. Only time will tell if Orang can claim the title's former standing. I'm sorry, this is really cool. I like this. I think I would love to see this expanded. See this expanded for example, minor roles, right? Minor roles, if you have a very famous jester, that sort of stuff. But what these accolades are doing here is a really cool packaging of the mechanic where you say, obviously I want as positive a knight, as strong an effect as possible. But sometimes you might be just, you know, treading water because, well, your knight just isn't good enough. He isn't gaining enough glory to do anything. Sometimes your knight might just absolutely destroy everybody in multiple tournaments, in multiple wars, and boom, top level. Then when he dies, he might have a successor that can't do any of that, and the accolade loses some rank. I hope that this is fairly variable, and obviously in the endgame you will largely find people with maxed out accolades, right? That's the assumption anyway. I hope that the AI keeps up. I guess that's my one concern. I hope that the AI keeps up, because the principle itself is just so damn cool. You know, if they didn't, it would be a real shame. Accolade succession. Knights die. It's a hazard of the job. If accolades as a system were about to the rise of an individual knight's personal legend, it would necessitate a lot of frustration and loss of investment. Therefore, accolades carry on from master to pupil, from acclaimed knight to successor. Accolade successors are filled in automatically, but the accolades liege is free to remove them and select replacements. This is the weirdest screen in my opinion. Like, it's so... Why is there so much space here? Anyway, successor requirements. Serves as a knight. Highest held title is less or equal to barony. Prowess is 8 or above, and at least one of these. Ambitious, gregarious, greedy, or deceitful. This guy, Ibrahim, fulfills it. He's a player heir. Oh, we can make a player heir an accolade? That is so cool. Imagine you rise up through the ranks, you were fighting with the other knights, and then you finally inherit your title. That is a very different sort of creation story of yourself and of your new character, when you inherit as them, than just I was the heir and I just kind of existed until I took over. Really, really neat. You can also see there's a nice button here, Seek Worthy Accolade Successor. Really happy to see this. I think since the requirements for accolades are so intense, like you need very particular sets of skills to fulfill an accolade that already exists, and if you don't fulfill it, you're not eligible, and that accolade remains empty. It's nice to just have like a quick way of dealing with it, right? Where you can just find somebody. What if one has no valid successors among their knights? Well, willing players can try to recruit characters who fulfill attribute requirements by a hook, literally and otherwise, or marriage offer. But if pouring through character lists is not your cup of tea, never fear. Seek worthy accolade successor. Worried that one day your acclaimed knight will be dead and gone? For a nominal prestige cost, a brand new accolade successor can be yours. A knight who fulfills this accolade's requirement will join your court within 6 months. Seek worthy accolade successor will be unavailable for 2 years, and you will seek one indeed. Fahad Party, an esteemed Ajwar, joins your court. He can be appointed a successor to the Wolf of Tabriz. There is a bit of fine print to seek worthy accolade successor, including a fair amount of cooldown. Also, successors will not necessarily fulfill both of an accolade's attributes, and when that happens, things get funky. So, what we know is that on inheritance, on other negative events and so on, the accolade power can essentially reset itself. Or rather, it can go down. But when an accolade dies and a new accolade, or rather a new knight takes over the accolade, that's how I should phrase that, when that happens, and the new holder of the accolade does not have the same fulfillment for the same secondary attribute, a different secondary attribute will be chosen. Yet again, even if you hold the level of the accolade, resetting the bonus that you're getting and changing them. Really cool. Accolades all have 2 attributes. First displayed is the primary, the core of the accolade's identity, which will never change. Below is the secondary attribute, which successors aren't required to qualify for. Successors must simply fulfill the primary attribute requirements listed on the successor screen and qualify for any other attribute. So you have to match the primary one. So that is the one that when you create an accolade, you should lock in. Like, honestly, you probably never want to lock in Thug, right? Thinking about it now, you probably never want to lock in Thug, and instead you want to go for, you know, the Reveler thing, the Tactician thing, because that will then be the primary attribute, which guarantees that the next takeover knight that takes the accolade, will then indeed have that primary attribute and whatever they have as a secondary one. Which means, okay, you actually are quite flexible. You might not even have to retire your original accolades, you can just change the second attribute by getting a particular person, right? An example, you create an accolade with a Politica primary attribute and an Idealist secondary attribute. Wonder what those do. The accolade is named something warm and fuzzy like Most Loyal of the Banners. Then the acclaimed knight dies, and guess what? His successor is no Idealist, he is a dang thug. Your new knight is putting his unique unsavory spin on your Politica accolade. On the right side, the mutability of secondary attributes allows you more flexibility with accolade bonuses. This boon is offset by increased succession glory loss whenever an accolade has to change over to a new secondary. Oh! If you find the perfect knight to get the already existing accolade, your glory loss will be much more limited than if you find a knight that just barely fits the primary objective, because they will then no longer be able to really act like the previous holder of this accolade. I like this so much. So this encourages to stay stable with your accolades. This encourages to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to always look for somebody that matches both things. But if you don't do it, hey, it's fine. They just need to, you know, they have a steeper hill. They're lower at the hill of life. I do not care, okay, for warfare in CK3. I think it's boring. I think it's very removed from roleplay. Even the buildings now that they're implementing, I mean, they're nice. They change how we approach things, or at least they promise to do this, but they don't really connect roleplay. They don't really connect other activities that I do with warfare. Accolades very explicitly do this. This is the first time I've been excited to do war, you know? This is the first time where I'm like, I want to see my accolade behead 15 people in this fight, because my god, the accolade bonus, it would be so good. I'm enamored with this feature, I gotta tell you. Let's talk about inactive accolades. So what happens if you don't have a successor? What if, God forbid, you fail to find a successor for your accolade? Fear not, sweet gamer, the accolade isn't destroyed, but rather it becomes inactive. If you want to free up the slot, you can retire the accolade even while it's still filled by a knight, and it will become inactive. So, knight dies, nobody's there, it becomes inactive. Or knight is still there, but I'm like, you know what, you're out of here, I want a different accolade, I can retire it. And then I can either reinstate it, this guy still has this, we just retired it because, well, we were like, we don't want you here anymore. Or we can actually properly destroy it. You can see this right here, he who will rock you, Ulrich. Is this guy, you know what, now I'm looking at it. I don't think we're seeing too many assets here that are new. Or rather, like a number of assets here, for example, this house symbol right here. A number of assets here are new, but we've seen them before. I think this is a house sigil as well, yeah. So, nothing too surprising here yet. Anyway, we have retired this fella, we have retired the Defender of the Palace, and we could destroy them here, or we just leave them in the inactive state. These inactive accolades no longer provide any effects. You may reinstate them, choosing a knight to fill them when doing so, or delete them if you wish. But, what if you have an inactive accolade, and there's no one up to the task of filling it? The Restore Accolades decision. So, Restore in accolades decision. Oh, it's not here. It's a particular decision in the actual decision window, isn't it? Of course, you're free to hunt down characters who meet the requirements of your fallen accolades manually, but this decision exists to make things a little easier. So you have one to find a successor if the accolade is active, and then you have a decision to find a person if the accolade is not even active anymore. Really cool. That is a lot of user-friendliness here. The martial dignities of my retinue lie dormant. Spread word to the champions of the land. The King of Pagan calls. Worthy scions for my time-honored stations of honor shall find themselves warmly welcomed. Eligible candidates for every inactive accolade will appear within the next year and become knights. Restore accolades will be unavailable for 5 years. Right, neat little aside. This decision first looks to recruit existing characters, but if not available meet requirements, new characters are generated. The new character's skills and traits will be appropriate for your accolade's primary attribute. The individual's culture should be both A, situated realistically near to yours, be friendly with yours, and C, either suit the primary attribute or generally be well known for exceptional knights. Oh. I wonder what it means to suit a primary attribute. Like, if you're a charmer, if your culture is diplomatic, astute diplomats I think is the tradition name, right? If they are an astute diplomat, does that mean that they are more likely to generate this? Oh, that is actually so cool. Basically, this just sets up Norman knights appearing as accolade candidates all over Christendom. I love this. How cool is this? Plus, if you're Emperor of Byzantium, there's a decent chance the elite fighting men who show up will be Armenians or Varangians. How neat is this? I need this in every aspect of every part of this. You know, every minor title, every council. Seriously, this stuff is really, really cool. The way the selection works, I would love it even if, honestly, I would even... I can always go, you know, with the idea of they could go further. Just imagine if sometimes it generates like a distant cousin of a family that is very well versed in fighting. Let's say you have a legacy that is the warfare legacy, boom. Maybe a distant cousin, you know, is going to show up, become an accolade. Would be cool, just saying. Let's switch gears and talk tournaments. They are an outstanding one-stop destination for all things knight. Not only do your acclaimed knights stand to gain glory from competition and victory, but the Hastoluder trait, earned with the honing of warrior skills, unlocks powerful men-at-arms attributes. Attend equestrian contests if you're interested in attributes like Lancer or Camel Rider. Hold dismounted combats to pursue knights like the Vanguard and the Skirmisher, and to some archery to get archers and crossbow captains. So depending on what is going on with the Hastoluder trade, what skill lines are being prosecuted, are being filled here, you will be getting very strong bonuses from your accolades. That is really cool. Those particularly interested in improving their stable of knights can attend tournaments with the recruit intent and improve their odds of going home in chivalrous company. how cool is this? You seek to improve your court with new and powerful knights. This often leads to recruiting opportunities. Listen, I like the buttons that they added, where you can search for a successor, where you can find somebody that can fill an inactive accolade. I like it even more, though, the more natural it is. When I host a tournament, I want to fight powerful knights. They gotta show up. I want to take a look at them. I want to say, you know what? Why don't you join me? I would like you to, you know, fill the boots of the Knights of the Rose and so on. Really cool stuff. I wonder whether this is weighted. Like, knights will show up in particular that match inactive accolades during events. I wonder. Like during tournaments. Either way, how cool is this? My god. Interested in your own tale-worthy tournamenting knight? Want an Ulrich von Liechtenstein to dazzle the crowd with skin-tight armor and miraculous skill? Well, he who will rock you, Ulrich von Liechtenstein. Nice reference, but also, more importantly, contender and valiant. Monthly prestige per knight. Has to do the trait experience gain. Unlocks. This knight gains 20 has to do the experience from grand tournament attendance just from attending. My god. This knight, right? All your knights gain 10 has to do the experience from grand tournament attendance. What an amazing, amazing accolade. Wow. And it seems to always list it underneath both. Ah, okay, now I see. So the number here is for both traits. What we saw earlier. Let me check this. Where is it? Wow, this was way back. Yeah, rank 1. Okay, so the number is for both of these. I understand. Does the color differ? I think they're always like golden. Oh, the background here is also golden, and wasn't here. Okay, so the background is what changes the better your knights or your accolades are. Glory Hound, Vassal Opinion, plus 25. Glory Hound, Vassal Opinion, plus 25. Insane stuff. I love this. Having modifiers based on the characters in your realm that previously you didn't care about at all. Really cool stuff. Absolutely in love with it. Accolades for everybody? No, wait. The keen-eyed among you may have noticed earlier there's but 5 spaces for accolades in the Knights and Accolades window. This is no mistake. 5 is the maximum number of acclaimed knights you will ever have simultaneously, and I'm afraid to say you'll often have far less, sometimes even no capacity for accolades at all. What gets you from no accolades at all to a whole squad of acclaimed knights? These two, King Tier or Emperor, Banners, Knighthood, and Renowned Name. So, 2 innovations, then ranks, King and Emperor, and Renowned Name is Dynasty Legacy Perk 2. That is a significant buff right there. Knighthood, right? Glory Hound Vassals are more common. Accolade available plus 1. Accolade Glory gain plus 10%. Oh, so it improves that as well. Quite neat. Now, who is the most glorious of them all? Some culture members tended to care a little more than others about glorious feats of arms, and thus we've given them a boost to glory gain. Cultures with traditions like Chanson de Geste, Royal Army, Performative Honor. Those cultures acclaimed knights have the best shot at being the greatest in all the world. Because, of course, it is a pursuit for them on a very cultural basis level. You see this right here? Accolade Glory gain plus 20%. Can recruit IR as men-at-arms. Number of knights go up as well. The Chivalry Lifestyle Tree is a good source of glory bonuses too. Knight Effective... Oh, they buffed it even more. That is so crazy. Gallant is so strong. Accolade Glory gain plus 10%. Wow. Chivalric Dominance just got buffed into high heavens. Knight Army modifiers. Before closing things out, let's take a moment to explain accolade effects, such as the Knight Army modifier. Wherever you see this term, it means your acclaimed knight will improve an army simply by being in it. There's no requirement for the acclaimed knight to be the army's commander. Mouse over the acclaimed knight icon, helmet with a little colorful scarf, on the army containing your acclaimed knight to see what modifiers are being applied to the army by acclaimed knights. Acclaimed knights 1. 15, right? Movement speed in provinces affected by winter, skirmisher damage, toughness, and screen plus 10%. So, you don't need to finagle this. There's no finicky mixing stuff, making somebody a commander, switching them out when they're... No. As long as they are in the army as a knight, which they should be because they are your knight, they give that bonus. Which makes it so it's not a generic bonus that you get just for this knight existing, but rather you get this bonus when the knight is actually risking their lot on the battlefield. Very nice. Everybody loves Men-at-Arms. When you choose a Men-at-Arms boosting accolade as a primary attribute and level it up, you'll unlock a fun reward. Special Extra Strong Men-at-Arms. Only 1 regiment of these can be recruited and they have a limited troop count. However, their high base stats synchronize well with your acclaimed knight's relevant modifiers and the new bonuses from stationing regiments in your holdings. Furthermore, these retinue men-at-arms perform better in appropriate terrains. They are twice as good at countering, and some of them receive stat increase as the cultural era goes by. So you absolutely want a regiment effect, then have that regiment stationed in a province that just buffs the hell out of it. and then fight in terrain that is favorable, and you will crush everybody. Modifier stacking is clearly well and alive, but it is now done by interacting much more interestingly with buildings and by finally properly including characters as characters. Who they are, what skills they possess, drives what bonuses they can give you. Now, light footmen right here and retinue skirmishers, which you can see, I mean, this is just a... You know, it's clearly not nearly as limited as you might think. Anyway, let's take a look at this bonus right here. Full strength, yep, blah, 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 blah. 10 attack, 26. Toughness, 17, 22. Pursuit, 10, 16. And then, what is this? Shielding? I forgot what this is called. When you stop other troops from being killed in the aftermath. 16 to 20. These troops are significantly better than the light footmen. That's incredible. Light footman counters these types, heavy infantry, obviously, and then here the terrain effects are also quite strong. A mix of lightly equipped elite warriors and seasoned mercenary raiders, feared for their skill at ambushes and unconventional warfare. Left, regular skirmishers, right, skirmishers unlocked by a high-ranked skirmisher accolade. Bear in mind, effects from knight army modifiers aren't visible here. A knight's own dev diary of chivalry. That about wraps it up. I'd love to leave you with one last wise quote from Descharny, who may or may not be a greater knight than a certain Willie Marshall or Rodrigo de Vivar. Avoid quarrels. Thanks for reading. They're not telling us what is coming in the next dev diary, but I gotta tell you this. This feature is a feature that should bore me, because you know that I'm almost exclusively, when it comes to CK3, focused on roleplay. I've played too much CK. I've played too much CK2 in particular, where we went through every single achievement. And I never cared for the number stacking. It just wasn't that interesting. It just wasn't that cool. This number stacking is so inherently connected to who I am as a roleplayer and to who my court is as a roleplayer. It's clearly something that appeals to optimizers as well. But when I look at these accolades, this is an amazing opportunity for roleplay. And I just hope that this principle, where we combine these elements in this fashion and where these elements are then combined with activities and with glorious acts and just particular events, I hope that this continues evermore. This is a great, great feature. Not that the previously mentioned features, of course, weren't interesting. They all seem great. It seemed like they would be adding a whole lot to the game. But man, I gotta tell ya, I am damn excited for this particular feature. Modifier stacking made with roleplayers in mind. I am here for it. Now, yeah, that is basically all I have to say about this. This is just incredible. I love this feature so much. When I was reading this dev diary, I was thinking to myself, my god, this is... I never would have come up with an idea like this, I'll be honest with you. But this is one of those solutions to modifier stacking that makes even me happy. And again, I do not care for modifier stacking beyond your, sometimes doing a YouTube meme run. I don't care for it. This makes me care for it. Let me know what you think in the comments, though. Do you agree? Do you disagree? For the moment, I will see you later. Alligator.